Dragons. Most of us have, at one point in our lives, wanted to see one. We all wanted to believe that dragons were real, somehow. Well, the series delivers so many of those beautiful wonder lizards on a platter and shouts, "Aren't dragons cool? Aren't they beautiful? Now eat one. Eat them all. Do it." Do it. Do it. I mean, it also shows you how dragons function in one of the most interesting lands ever shown in fiction. Features a killer cast of characters and stellar world building, and all that brought to life via superb art. Sounds good? Sounds good. Alright, let's talk about drifting dragons. Before we get started though, I'd like to welcome you to MangAnalysis, where I do little reviews of some of the manga I've been reading. If you like what you see, consider subscribing, giving it a like, and maybe even type down a comment. Let's get talking. Alright, let's start with a summary. Drifting Dragons, written and drawn by Taku Kuwabara, follows the Quinzaza, a draking ship, as it soars the skies from one location to another. A draking ship, by the way, is a flying ship that specializes in hunting dragons. This ship hosts a very colorful cast of characters, including Mika, a dragon gourmand, and Takita, a new recruit looking for adventure. Throughout their journey, we get to see a number of really interesting dragons, each with an ecosystem of their own, and we get to experience how a draking ship operates, from the day-to-day ship maintenance to the dangerous yet rewarding act of hunting dragons, then harvesting and selling what's left of them, in an effort to keep the ship afloat. Okay, so Drifting Dragons has so many strong elements, and so many parts of it that I love. But I'd like to start by talking about my favorite thing, the crew. The crew of the Quinzaza is, in my opinion, the strongest part of the series. You may not get to know all of the members of the crew intimately immediately, but as the story progresses, you get to know more about each of them. Some have tragic backstories that led them to the ship, while others simply wanted a change of pace. Granted, due to the differences in their reasons for being on the ship, some of their stories or arcs may not be as grand as others. That, however, does not mean they're not all interesting. The variety of depth that you'll find with these characters is what keeps me going. It's quite reflective of the kind of crew you'd imagine to see on a ship in real life. Some have great big backgrounds, while others just sort of glided through life. The 3 or 4 main characters, and I use that term loosely because there isn't really a single main character in this series, do have compelling stories and arcs, presenting full of intrigue that makes you want to know more about them. Arcs usually focus on 1 or 2 characters at a time, and what I love too is that even though a character's arc may be resolved, it's not like some big character development is going to be forced on said character. I hate when you see a story that takes place in like 2 days, but the protagonist goes from 0 to 100 in character development, and it's like, really? You're gonna have me believe that Bobo changed that much in 2 days? Right. I guess all I'm saying is that some of these stories don't have to be life-changing to be good and interesting. Final thing about the crew that I want to mention is their chemistry. Each of them has a role to play on how the ship operates, and you really do feel like if even one of them is missing, everything is gonna go to hell. Or almost anyway. Psst. This happens multiple times and you do feel the stress from the crew, which is rad. The crew love is real, and I'm all for it. Now, dragon hunters are awesome, but what about the dragons? Are they cool too? Heck yes they are. They make the 7-year-old in me feel so alive, and I haven't felt that in 19 years. It's great. Anyway, the dragons in this series are so varied and diverse, and they really push the conventional design or description of what a dragon is. If we all thought about the word dragon, we'd more or less all have the same-ish image in our heads of what a dragon looks like. Drifting Dragons, however, gives you dragons of all shapes and sizes. Some look nothing like a typical dragon. For example, some look far more like jellyfish, plants, fish, birds, dogs, and even some kind of like cute bugs. Cute bugs. Ugh, that's the thing I never thought I'd say. It's almost like dragons are more of a concept than a specific animal. I guess when you think of dragons, you think of big lizards. But in this series, dragons are like an entire kingdom to themselves. Or species, type of animal, I don't know. Biology class is so far away. Each dragon brings with it a different set of challenges, such as how to be hunted or how to be cooked. They really remind me of the Colossi from Shadow of the Colossus. Each is different. Some are small, some are giant, some are aggressive, and some won't touch you unless provoked. Just like you would see in nature today. And by that I mean regular animals, not dragons or colossi. They're not real. So, I feel like I've mentioned this a few times already, but never really went into it. The fact that dragons are to be eaten. I know, it sounds weird and doesn't really sound super nice if you're vegan and you don't like any type of animal getting killed for food, but let me talk about it. So without spoiling it, the crew hunts dragons and then they eat them. Well, that's oversimplifying it. Draking ships are essentially dragon bounty hunters, hired by towns or governments to hunt dragons that may be threatening humans' daily lives, such as towns, cities, ports, ships, and so on. Some draking ships out there aren't really nice to dragons and treat them more as a nuisance, which is super lame. But the Queen Zaza totally loves dragons. They respect them, honor them, and live among them in the skies. They take no pleasure in killing them. When they kill them, they always do so in a humane way, and make sure not a single part of them is wasted. They eat all that's edible, and everything else goes into making accessories, tools, ingredients, and or sold. Fat can be turned into oil that is then sold on the market, which is one of the biggest ways for ships to make money. See, dragons aren't just beasts that fly in the sky, they're everything. They're at the center of this world. Everything revolves around them, and the storytelling makes sure that you're aware of it. There's this bittersweet feeling you get when the Drakers finally kill a dragon. In one hand, you're excited and thrilled at the successful conclusion to a stressful hunt, but on the other side, you're sad because one of these majestic beasts has passed on. Also, almost every chapter or arc features a new dragon recipe, which is again shown at the end of the chapter in great detail. That small element really helps build this world as more than just a fiction. It feels super real since all the other ingredients are more or less some that you could find in your local grocery store. As usual, as much as I like to talk about all the good stuff a series presents, I also like to mention at least one thing that I didn't necessarily enjoy. If there's one thing that I don't love about Drifting Dragons, is its lack of direction, or rather its lack of overarching plot. Essentially, it's just a collection of short stories following the crew of the Queen Zaza. Each arc focuses on a different group of characters, they accomplish something, and then they moves on to a different story. I really enjoy this format since it lets you discover more about the large cast of characters in a natural way. And more importantly, you get to know more about the world. Some stories will have the crew hunt for a legendary dragon, and in another story, you'll have the crew rest at a town while some not so good pirates are on the loose, wreaking havoc in the skies. You might even have an episode where a crew member falls off the ship, and I guess they have to go find them. Oh, Mika dreamt of a mysterious recipe last night, let's go find the secret ingredients. It's all good stuff. It's great. I love it. For now. I just don't know how long I'll be able to remain interested in that kind of format. I wish there was a plot, like an overall goal or storyline. Even if it was only mentioned here or there or developed slowly, it'd be nice to have something to look forward to. Look, normally I'm not a fan of the whole episodic thing, but this series does it exceedingly well, so I'm hanging on. But I want more. Right now, it just reminds me of my life. Little moments without any purpose. And that's not really what I want to be reading about. So typically, this is the part where I talk about what I'd like to see with this series moving forward. But I essentially already covered that. I just want a clear direction or plotline that lasts for more than a few chapters. Other than that, keep feeding me those dragons and that sweet, sweet character development, and I'll be satisfied. So, Drifting Dragons. Should you check it out? Well, if you enjoy cooking or anything food related, I think you should check it out. If you like boats or flying ships, I guess you should check it out. Oh, you like dragons? Absolutely you should check it out. What? You like immaculate world building and interesting characters? Then yes, by all means, check it out. Honestly, anyone who likes fantasy, even steampunk, anything really, could find enjoyment out of this series. It's one of those rare, this is for everyone series that might actually be for everyone. Maybe not as much as The Girl from the Other Side, but still, I feel really confident recommending that you check it out. Well, that was Drifting Dragons. I hope you enjoyed this little review, and if you did indeed enjoy it, consider subscribing. This was MangAnalysis, and I'll see you in the next one.